I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Joint Finance and City Property Committees at 5:19 on April 30th. Clerk, if you can call the roll.
The Finance Committee, Council Wildenhain.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Here.
Council Rubio.
Here.
For the Property Committee, Council Koviak.
Here.
Council Russo.
Here.
Council Moreno.
Here.
3 in attendance for both committees.
Any public comment written or online?
Nothing written.
Okay, Councilor Arujo, if you can take 2A.
Okay, item number 2A is a memorandum of agreement between Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC and the city of Pawtucket for the market residential and mixed use phase 1B development. My motion is to take up this memorandum of agreement.
It's been motioned by Councilor Arujo, second by Councilor Moreno, that we take up a memorandum of agreement between Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC and the city of Pawtucket for the market residential and mixed use phase 1B development. All in favor of taking up this memorandum?
Aye.
Nay? All right, let's take it up. Who's quarterbacking?
I'll happily put it.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk, there's a lot of pieces to this transaction, obviously, and we're going to reconvene just as the finance committee, I think.
Correct.
I'll talk just about a piece of the deal. So, there's a memorandum of agreement that essentially sets out and incorporates all of the agreement that we're going to talk about tonight. The objective of the memorandum of agreement is to move forward the residential and mixed use development, which comprises the balance of phase 1B of the Tidewater. So, say the balance because we've already done approved the boundaries of the split and there's really affordable housing development. So if we talk just about what's in this agreement, there's really 3 components to it. So there's a 350 unit residential mixed use development on the east side of the river. There is the scope of public improvement, which would be the river walk, the stormwater park, pedestrian bridge, all of the public infrastructure that ties the development together. And there's a mixed use development on the west side of the river adjacent to the state. All of that's on city land. The original ground lease since been amended, leased 4 parcels to the city, or at least 4 parcels to Fortuitous. One of which we've already talked about with Penrose. The other 3, 2 of which correspond to the private improvements that I just described, and then the 3rd would be that stormwater park. So what this agreement does fundamentally is it moves the city-owned, the public improvement parcel, that stormwater park, back to the city. It reduces, and the city is undertaking to develop that with the public improvements. It reduces the development fee that's paid to Fortuitous based on that rearrangement of responsibilities. And it gives a purchase option for the 2 parcels that would go under the private improvements. And the reason for the purchase option is that Fortuitous has identified a nationally very impressive development partner to work with them to develop those 2 buildings. And that partner, who is they're called Wood Partners, they national portfolio. They come in with their finance team and said, look, for us to finance this project, we really need to have the simple title to the properties. So we've worked together with Fortuitous and with partners to establish a timeline for the development, to stagger the development of those components of the project, to ensure that each piece can be financially stabilized, and then also to trigger the purchase option only upon the point in time when that piece of the relevant piece of the project is prepared to move forward and has demonstrated that it's ready to move forward. And so as far as what's on this agenda tonight, what you're seeing is that memorandum of agreement basically tries to explain everything that I just explained in a way that's somewhat digestible, at least I hope. An amendment to the master development agreement, which That's governs the responsibility for development activities and public improvements, and also includes that development needed by reference. And then also ground lease, just please incorporate those timelines. There are other things in that agreement, but I think those are more on the. Stabilization agreement.
Mhm. Anybody have any questions so far?
So the purchase prices for the two properties, that'll be locked in if this is agreed upon. So that will always stay the 135 and the 95, correct? Okay.
Does the value of the land factor into the overall benefit for fortuitous at all? I mean,
So the value of the land is a difficult thing to really figure because all of those parcels are subject to a 90 ground lease for. So we did have appraisals done to get a sense for the market value of the unimproved land. But those appraisals don't factor in the what we would call the encumbrance of the lease. Because really what they're talking about is value and the residual value from that.
any other questions for 2A?
Sure.
Yep.
I just might add that city has been trying for about 30 years to get that entire area redeveloped. Supposed to be a hotel at one time, it was a hotel at the second time, something else. We willingly entered into the 99-year lease. So my opinion only is that this is moving us in the direction of finally developing acreage that we've been begging to be developed.
Mhm.
I concur with the president. These are areas where have not been developed. And now it's going to be useful, purposeful, for the city residents and for the city as a whole.
Mhm. All right. Why don't we do, so, because 2B, we actually probably should have done together. 2B is the actual resolution for the memorandum.
So, okay, so you would like to read 2B now? And
Yep.
the finance committee will be voting on this as well, right? Because it's a joint. Yes, okay.
Mhm. But we don't have to do a vote on 2A, it would actually be 2B, right? 'Cause that's
Two
what I
things,
thought.
you're just gonna have read and voted file. It's the
Yeah.
resolutions that you're gonna vote on.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll take, wow,
Other questions?
Anything from finance?
I guess the only thing that, I saw two things that stuck out on me, and this is mostly, in the properties agreement. The police and fire detail, we're not paying half of the detail, we're paying half of the administrative costs of the detail, correct?
Oh, sorry, Mark.
No problem. I just wanted to make that clear,
Mhm.
because going through it, those are the only things that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Is it paying or foregoing? Are we paying 50% or just foregoing?
No, we're foregoing 50%. There's an administrative fee that was explained to me that the city charges them for it. They asked that charge be reduced by 50%.
Right, so we're foregoing, we're not paying, city's not paying.
Correct.
Well,
Correct.
Along.
but that's not.
And that's what I wanted to make clear. It wasn't because some people say, look at it and say, well, police, and now we're paying half for a police and detail charge for what's going on there. And I wanted to get that cleared up. So when we started to talk about it, that there's an administrative fee that goes with that. The only thing that's going to be affected is that administrative by 50%.
And then the other thing that this. The number of events in the state last year versus plan. So, same things. Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Also
Rubio.
the property for the veteran, as far as extension of current timeline, just something we are on that. Okay. To verify, so if $300,000, if you go over, you extend that. Then you will require an extension. $600,000 total
So it's two exceptions.
to extend.
Need to be both here, we have to be credited against the purchase price of the project. Seeds, and then the second, exception. So, yeah. that's all.
Okay, so those are the credits.
Product they-
2 and 3. And then we have to do the.
And as far as the drainage work, I know that another extension or would be held up is if are we anticipating any hiccups as far as the stormwater drainage work that's being done? Is there an actual timeline that we're working off of, or?
So you want to speak a little bit about the timeline for that?
Sure, yeah. We're currently in front of CRMC, Coastal Resources Management Council, for permitting on all of the drainage work associated with the site, as well as the off-site work. So there's a city-wide drainage system that's just upstream. They're gonna collect that and treat this in the same stormwater park area. We can't proceed with that until we get the permit from CRMC. They're reviewing that current. It has to go before a public process on that side.
And how long before that you first permit?
So we're hoping that happens in June. Yes, this year.
So that's the anticipated date, deadline, in order for you to move forward, is it done time, or is there a buffer?
That's our current timeline that we're proceeding with. We're working on the financing piece of that as well.
Mhm.
So those should coalesce later this summer, early fall.
Just I can answer that. Word, it's just that the timeline is. As soon as that CRMC permit is issued, the deadline that's triggered.
Okay.
Second month. When the CRMC permit is issued. But last but
Oh, my
not
God.
least, it's currently anticipated that. Stormwater improvements will start. Early in.
The way the numbers and everything were built, like income, vacancy, like the cap rate and all that stuff, are they conservative? Like, is there a benefit to the city, like if revenue increases for gratuitous? Or,
So. I don't step on your toe if you want.
The methodology obviously is what we use for large public complexes. The market rents were provided to me with market rents as of today.
Mhm.
I think we have, do we have a, increase in that? We just have less later.
Not for the, not for.
We're looking at, current market rents, 100% market rent, that we're using. We're using a conservative, vacancy rate, conservative expense rate. 9.75 is typical.
but is that locked in? What if it changes when this is completed? Like, what if it increases? It is locked in, or it won't?
It's locked, it is locked.
It is locked in. It's not gonna change.
So it's estimated 3% a year. The value of the improvements are escalated.
I thought there was an escalator, so there's an escalator of 3% for inflation and so forth each year.
Is that growth trend? Like, is that typical?
The point of, the point of the tax stabilization is so that they can count on a certain number here, when they go for training and if any money lost. It stabilized every
Appreciate it.
year. That's
What about city responsibility costs while everything is happening? I'm trying to remember if I read it, but snow removal, storm, is there any responsibilities that the city's gonna have that might be excluded, that's not in here, that we are not anticipating, or?
So there's, I think there's two answers to that question. One is that once the improvements are completed and all the stuff is completed, it's currently contemplated that city will within the application. The other thing I'll say is that there's a potential, there'll be a period of time of public improvements completed prior to the effectiveness of the tax amortization agreement. And during that period, the city would have an obligation.
In terms of like oversight, I know it says in here, that we're supposed to get a report to council by the December of every month, every year. Are there any quarterly or any annual reports that are going to be public? Is everything going to be public? And is the annual one the only report we're getting? I can't remember.
So the requirement for the annual report is existing. I don't believe that there's a quarterly report.
I saw something from
believe
there.
that there's language in there. This is also exists on. Additional, there's essentially as to the subsequent improvements.
Mhm.
So
So it does say here, the developer shall provide the city council quarterly updates in writing on the progress of developer has made towards construction and securing private financing for the completion of phase 1B. That's just a little bit of what I'm reading right here in terms under miscellaneous terms.
you're correct. That's what I was thinking. That was the request I spoke.
Okay.
It's not a fun request. There's also an in.
Yeah, by December 31st. Or that's a presentation maybe.
Doing that based on the Blackstone. Updates, we thought that was a good idea.
No, I do like that. Okay. That one. All right, any other questions from any members? Good. Clerk, so should we take up all resolutions individually, but could Counselor Rujo right now order and file all the
I would do one, I would do the, yeah, like 2A and 2B, I do that together. Like
Okay.
3A and 2B, I do that one together.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would just move, if you want to move forward
Sure.
to B, just move 2A to be read and ordered filed, and
Yeah.
2B, make your recommendation.
Okay.
Mhm. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, so, Chair, I would like to make a motion to read and file the memorandum of agreement between Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC and the city of Pawtucket for the market residential mixed use phase 1B development. And B, make a motion to approve and bring forward to the city council the approval of the resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC on a roll call vote.
It's been motion by Counselor Rujo, second by Counselor Moreno, that we read, order, and file.
Read and ordered file, have it read and ordered file.
Read, order, and file a memorandum of agreement between Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC and the city of Pawtucket for the market residential and mixed-use phase 1B development, and approve the resolution sent to the full council for approval, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC. If clerk, you can call the roll.
Finance, Council Wildenhain.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council Rubio.
Yeah.
For Property Committee, Council Scoviac.
Yes.
Council Russo.
Yes.
Council Moreno.
Yeah.
3-0 for each.
Okay. Yep, 3A, please.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to read, order, and file the
Have read
first
and ordered file.
read, ordered, I'm sorry,
Ordered,
say that again.
be read and ordered file.
Read,
All
order.
right, be read and ordered filed. There we go. The First Amendment of the First Amendment to the First Amended and restated Master Development Agreement between the City of Pawtucket and the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency, Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC, and Tidewater Stadium LLC. And I'd also like to make a motion to approve and bring forward to the entire city council a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to the First Amended and Restated Development Agreement among the City of Pawtucket, the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency, Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC, and Tidewater Stadium LLC Master Development Agreement. My motion is on a roll call vote.
The motion by Counselor Rujo, second by Counselor Moreno, that we um, read, ordered, and filed First Amendment to the first amended and restated master development agreement between the City of Pawtucket and the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency, fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC and Tidewater Stadium LLC. And it's also been motioned that we send to the full council recommended approval for resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to the first amended and restated development agreement among the City of Pawtucket, the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency, fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC, and Tidewater Stadium LLC Master Development Agreement. Clerk, if you can call the roll.
Finance Committee, Council Wildenhain.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council Rubio.
Yes.
Property Committee, Council Stokoviac.
Yes.
Council Ruzo.
Yes.
Council Moreno. 3-0 on each.
4A and B.
For A, I'd like to make a motion to read and order filed, first amended to the second amended and restated ground lease agreement between the City of Pawtucket and fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties located on Division and Taft Streets, AP 23, L 672, 673, 599, and AP 54, L 827. And as well, I would like to make the motion to include a recommendation for approval to the entire city council, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a first amendment to second amended and restated ground lease by and between the City of Pawtucket, fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC and fortuitous Partners LLC. This is all on a roll call vote.
It's been motioned by Council Ruzo, second by Council Moreno, that we read, ordered, and filed the First Amendment to second amended and restated ground lease agreement between the City of Pawtucket and fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties located on Division and Taft Streets, AP 23, L 672, 673, 599, and AP 54, L 827. It's also been motion that we send to the full council a recommendation for approval of resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to second amended and restated ground lease by and between the City of Pawtucket, fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC, and fortuitous Partners LLC. Clerk, if you can call the roll.
The Finance Committee, Council Wildenhain.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council,
Yes.
for the Property Committee, Council Stokoviac.
Yes.
Council Ruzo.
Yes.
Council Moreno.
Yes.
3-0 for each.
Awesome. Well, I am looking forward to these developments as council president said, it's been a while. I remember, I'm not too young, that I remember that it was supposed to be a couple of hotels and all that stuff. So I am looking forward to.
Madam Chair, before you.
Yep.
We have this letter from planning.
You want to amend the
So
agenda?
I'd like
The
to
agenda.
make a motion to amend the agenda for the purpose of filing of communication.
Okay.
It's been motioned to amend the agenda to file a communication. It's been motioned by Councilor Ruzo, second by Councilor Moreno, that we file the agenda. All in favor of filing the agenda? Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to read and order filed, a communication, from the planning, and redevelopment, department.
What is that one? Thank you. It's been motioned by Councilor Ruzo, second by Councilor Moreno, that we read, ordered, and file a communication from Planning and Redevelopment Department to the Pawtucket City Council, Pawtucket Finance Property Committees. All in favor of read, order, and filing this communication, say aye. Aye. All not in favor, nay, no.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been motioned by Councilor Ruzo, second by Councilor Moreno, that we adjourn this meeting of the City Property and Finance Committee at 5:43. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. We are now adjourned.
I'm gonna call the committee finance, you already acknowledged that, I must screw up. The committee finance committee for Thursday, April 30th, 2026 at 5:30. Well, 5:46 at Municipal Annex from Freight Street. I call the meeting to order. Clerk will call a roll.
Council Wildenhain.
Here.
Council Moran.
Here.
Council Rubio.
Any public input? Okay, no public input. Councilor Rubio, could you take number 2 and number 3?
Good. Item number 2, a communication from Robert W. Burns, tax assessor to the Honorable Mark J. Wildenhain Finance Committee Chair. Submitted tax stabilization agreement request by the Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties on Division Street, AP 23, L 599, and Taft Street, AP 54, L 827. And item number 3, a communication from Jason Pizzulo, Commerce Director, to the Honorable Mark J. Wildenhain Finance Committee Chair. Submitted the Planning Department's recommendation for tax stabilization agreement request by Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties on Division Street, AP 23, L 599, and Taft Street, AP 54, L 827. I move to file a communication.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Rubio, second by Councilor Moran, that we file the 2 communications, one from Bob Burns and one from Jason Pizzulo. Bob is the tax assessor and Jason's commerce director. We filed both of those communications. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 4, Councilor Rubio.
Item number 4A, tax stabilization agreement request by Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties on Division Street, AP 23, L 599. Move to take this up.
It's been moved by Councilor Rubio, seconded by Councilor Moran, that we take up a tax stabilization agreement request by Fortuitous OZ LLC, Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties on Division Street, AP 23, L 599. All those in favor of taking up the tax stabilization agreement?
Aye.
I appreciate the communication. Well, the committee appreciates the communications from Bob and Jason, Director Pizzulo. Jeremy, could you lead it off? And then if there's any need, for Bob to, accentuate on it, then by all means, we'll go through it then. Okay?
So, it's gonna be hard to talk about just the one tax stabilization agreement, on its own, but it's a good.
Want to do all 3? We can all do all 3.
I'm gonna talk about it.
There we go.
We'll start with the market residential project. It's the first commercial project that. First project that is. So. Let's start with the premise that this land was originally leased for the 99 years to the developer. The consequence of the restructuring of the transaction is that the land will now become taxable because it will no longer be city-owned land and it's developed. So right from the jump, you've got taxes and you see them through the schedule for the stabilization agreement that tax revenue coming from. That's a significant number when you look over the lower than 99 of the lease agreement. The balance of this tax stabilization is, I'm going to say it's portion of it's very typical for tax stabilization in the city of Pawtucket.
We've seen them.
Fixing the 20-year taxes so that the developer want to get their financing on the project, share it with the bank. Visibility and predictability. There are some nuances to this. So first and foremost, this tax stabilization agreement has the total of the tax payments due under the agreement. They're significantly higher than what you would expect to see following typical valuation process for a tax stabilization agreement of this size. And the reason for that is that once this project comes online, the balance of the stadium taxes due under the stadium tax stabilization agreement will be reflected in this tax schedule. That's why this one is so high. I'll talk more about that when we that piece, when we get to a bit easier to talk about that piece in connection with the last resolution. The other component of this that's unusual, we talked about it in the previous meeting, is that there are maintenance obligations for the developer to maintain public improvements, which will not be, and will no longer be leased by the entity. They have obligations to keep up that, log up public park, woodrock, and all of that. Those obligations, though they don't include snow and ice removal, include things like cutting the grass, removing the trash, those things like this. And there's a proportionate of equal adjustment to the tax payments made under the tax stabilization agreement for the costs of those maintenance obligations. The reason the administration thought it was advisable to proceed that way is that this developer will have already engaged to maintain the private developments. Their contractor, it was thought that the level of upkeep will be more consistent if it's the same entity maintaining that whole parcel, because when you look at the scope of improvements, both public and private, they're very much integrated by design. So those are really the two sort of unusual components of the tax stabilization agreement. Besides that, I think it fits into the mold of typically, what a tax stabilization agreement is for, which is so allowing some financial relief in the early stages of the project, so that this development can stabilize financially.
And that is, excuse me, that is when this TSA will come into, when it's completion, correct? Or substantial completion as it's determined in this language here, correct? All right. Does the committee have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Relative to the property being taxable after sale, how does the TIF district aspect affect that, or does it affect it at all?
So it doesn't really affect it. Honestly, the TIF district benefits hugely from this project. Let's start there, because all of those residents that are moving in to those units, all the business activity that supports them, all of that's happening within the TIF district. So all of the state taxes that are collected as a result of those, as a result of that activity, are counted towards the TIF revenues in the Pawtucket downtown redevelopment. The city taxes, which will certainly be increased, are city taxes either way. Whether the city were to do that by including them in a TIF bond, or whether they were to do use them otherwise in a financing instrument, I don't see a big distinction there in terms of advantage one or the other. But the point is that by conveying the property, there's no question the tax revenue over the next years will be higher.
Thank you.
Council Rubio?
Does the TSA stay intact? Or are there any changes if sold to another company or another developer?
So there's some restrictions on the assignability of the whole project, because you can't really just move just the TSA. But no, it will stay intact. So
The maintenance, on the issue of maintenance, it says it'll be there effective for the term. At the end of the term, will the city have to take over that maintenance, or will there be discussions with the developer about what's gonna happen?
no, the city would be obligated at the end of
The 20 years? Okay. And as my colleague pointed out, with reference to the other one, it has in here, section 6.2, the annual progress reports. Developer shall provide an annual progress report in writing to the city council on the progress in complying with the provisions of this agreement shall be due by December 31st. I know I've talked to Mr. Krober in the past about, wanting those, making sure that Fortuitous comes before the council and lets us know what's going on with the project. Where, I think kind of also indicated that we've been talking about this since 2020. So the quicker we get it done, the quicker we feel better about it. I think that's a thing that the leadership has communicated to you and John, while you guys have been negotiating, and Mark also. So, we just want to reiterate that too. We're excited about it. Well, just as much as we were excited about the stadium, we're just as excited about this. And the sooner that we see it happen, we see the benefits for them, but we also see the benefits for us. So. Any other questions from the committee?
I have two.
Councilor Kubiak.
When are, clearly with the development properties along School Street, which I believe is the tip over there, but when would they be, their property values will go up, right? But also in terms of their taxes, when would they be reassessed? Are they gonna be reassessed like anytime soon? This is more for you.
This year.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get a tax stabilization agreement. They're an 8% property. So they're not gonna come here. I've already had the discussion with them. They're subsidized 8% rent. So we get the gross potential rent, we take 8% of that, and that's their tax.
Okay.
So the only way we get more on that is if they increase the 8% to 10%, or they increase the rent.
And then my other question is, obviously, TSAs have been a hot topic in Rhode Island where a lot of communities are pushing back against them because obviously taxes are going up for our normal everyday citizens, and then we're giving breaks to developers. We've talked about it here, but Pawtucket has had, I think, since I've been on council, I think TSAs have really worked for us and the developers that have come through for us. But I guess my only question is, how would you describe the direct benefit to Pawtucket residents by giving you a TSA?
I think whoever is making that claim it doesn't understand how a TSA works. First of all, offering a TSA allows a developer to put your community over another community. Okay? If you have land like this that's been vacant for 30 years, no one's knocking the door down to get that piece of property, right? So we have someone who wants to develop it. We offer TSA as an incentive. Our TSAs have been very, very successful. Okay, I've closed out probably 10 or 12 of them, of 10-year natures, 15-year natures, and 5-year natures. But we've seen $35 million more money than we had before we started this. So they're very, very important to develop the city.
Yeah, and to add to Director Burns' point, just as Councilor, or President Mercer puts out, the tax increase on zero is always beneficial. When you're getting zero and somebody wants to come in and use their money to develop your property, it's an incentive. It's an incentive we used in the past. It's been wildly successful, and I don't see why it wouldn't be successful in this point here. It'll come at the end of 20 years, much like many of the people in this room won't be here, including myself. But Dave will still be here.
I'll still be here.
We've already made that point last time over.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. But
I'm gonna be sitting right here.
the rest of us are looking forward. to it.
Cobwebs over them.
Cobwebs.
Any other questions from the committee? With that, Councilor Rubio, would you take number 4, please?
Sure.
Right here.
Where I am. All right. Item 4, resolution authorizing a 20-year tax stabilization agreement for Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the property located at 45 Division Street, AP 23, Lot 599, Market Residential Project. I move to approve on a roll call vote.
And I'll second that.
Send it
No.
to
Send it
council.
to council.
Pass to the council. I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Councilor Rubio and seconded by Councilor Moran that we support the resolution authorizing a 20-year tax stabilization agreement for the Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the property located at 45 Division Street, AP 23, Lot 599, the Market Residential Project. Call for approval on a roll call vote.
Chairman Wildenhain.
Yes.
Council Rubio.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Councilor Moran, number 5A.
5A is a tax stabilization agreement request by Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties on Taft Street, Assessors Plat 54, Lot 827. What are we doing? Motion to take it up. Motion to take up and discuss.
Motion has been made by Councilor Moran, seconded by Councilor Rubio, that we take up and discuss a tax stabilization agreement request by Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties on Taft Street, AP 54 L 827. All those in favor of taking it up?
Aye.
Aye. Jeremy? Well,
This one is pretty easy, pretty vanilla in comparison to the rest. It still does have an allowance for the maintenance of the public improvements that is recent on that side of the river. The philosophy here, this will complete phase 1B when this portion of the project is constructed. So it is off the future a little bit. It's unusual somewhat to approve the tax stabilization agreement so far in advance. But I think it makes sense in this case because the whole goal here is to move the development forward as quickly as possible. And candidly, in my estimation, it's a certainty that at some point an agreement like this will be necessary to complete that component of the development. And by giving visibility and a line of sight into that part of the financing, I think it makes it that much easier, that much likelier, more likely that this component will develop moves forward as quickly as possible.
and you feel that way that if the wood turns around and gets developed or starts getting developed by 2028 and gets completed, that the developers will want to push in a little bit sooner in 2032?
I can't speak for them. I know that they're in the business of developing. Typically, you only make money when you when you're in that business. So I know that they want to move forward as quickly as possible, and we've certainly communicated only about 4,000 times our desire to have them move as quickly as possible. So
Yeah.
I know they're aware of our position. I think for them, and the reason the agreements are set up the way they are is that that's all has to be balanced against a responsible approach where the first piece gets stabilized before you build more units. Right? That's in everyone's best interest. So that's sooner they get the shovel in the ground on part one, the sooner they get the shovel.
No, we've had those communications plenty of times, but does anybody on the committee have any questions?
I had a question, just a general question, Jeremy, is like, when do you start, like, when you do these, there's 3 of them here, and they may vary, as far as complexity is concerned, but like, when would you start, like, when did you start, like, drafting one? Like, how many different versions do you come up with, and like, how long does it take to come up with these? Is it like 2 or 3 months, or what is it?
That would be Director Burns and not Jeremy.
Bob, that-
Jeremy does not do that.
Oh, he doesn't, I'm sorry.
Jeremy does not do that.
But I'm assuming they would approach you for that, and then you draft it, but I'm just saying,
Well,
right?
well, me,
Yeah,
Yes.
Jeremy drafted the resolutions, I did this time, so, but we've gone over schedules and conditions, ad nauseam for months.
I think he's talking more about the table, Bob, than he is.
yeah, more about the numbers, like, when you crunch those numbers, I mean, do they come up with one set of numbers, or you come up with a set and then they go back?
Discuss this.
Okay.
Yeah, I came up with one number that he thought was a little bit on the high side, so we kind of worked it out
Okay,
where I want to make sure the city's protected with the number that we have on it
right.
without giving any too much away. We were only a couple million, so. In value.
Right.
Oh,
Not in tax, not in taxes.
us.
If that was the case, Bob, you wouldn't be sitting there.
I think I was at 51 million and he said, oh, 49 million.
Right,
Okay,
right.
49 million. So,
But it's pretty, I mean, amicable. It's not really adversarial in a sense when you're going back and forth like that, right?
It's just a matter, it's a function of the math, actually.
Yeah.
How much of your utilities and your expenses, I don't know. I estimated those. He said they're a little higher than what I had, so that brings it down.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any further questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I guess I gotta read that though.
Actually, you know what? No.
No.
Do the resolution 5B.
Okay, that's what I was gonna do.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
5B, resolution authorizing a 20-year tax stabilization agreement for Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the property located on Taft Street, Assessors Plat 54, Lot 827. For the mixed-use project, my motion is to approve this and refer it to the council.
Second.
Motion been made by Council Moran, seconded by Council Rubio, that resolution authorizing 20-year tax stabilization agreement for the Fortuitous Tidewater OZ LLC for the properties located on Taft Street, AP 54, Lot 827, mixed-use project be approved and sent to the council with full support of the committee. Roll call vote.
Council Wildenhain.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council Rubio.
Yeah.
3-0.
Councilor Rubio.
Item number 6A, second amendment to the tax stabilization agreement for Tidewater Stadium LLC on Tidewater Street, AP 65 L 723. I move to take this up.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council Rubio, seconded by Council Moran, that we, a second amendment to the tax stabilization agreement for Tidewater LLC, Stadium LLC on Tidewater Street, AP 65, L 723 be taken up. All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess this one is a little bit different because we've had a couple of goes at this. Yeah. And I think you kind of indicated something earlier that maybe we should talk about, and I see it's here, the contingency reduction, where it brings it to 0. I looked at the schedule, I looked at the amended schedule. This is the same as the schedule we approved back in 2023, I think it was, or already amended once. The only thing that changes that I'd seen in here, that it goes to 0. And would you like to explain the premise behind it achieving 0?
So let's go back in time first. So
Yeah.
when the initial, even before the first of the LTSA was approved, contemplation was always that the stadium would be tax exempt for. Actually, it was initially contemplated the stadium would be tax exempt.
Correct.
And we were able to reduce that to a 20-year tax differential agreement. Mostly because state law required.
Mhm.
Then as the stadium project, it's a pause and then we pick back up. The city invested $10 million into the construction of the stadium, and the TSA was amended that amount in taxes. But we still go back to the original premise of, from an operating perspective, the stadium is challenged to make those tax payments, which is why that TSA was there in the first place. The contemplation was that really the way to collect that tax revenue is not from the stadium component of the project, but from the other private development components of the project, which have less operating expenses. If you just think about
Mhm.
running a stadium versus running a very different regular operating expenses. So but without that project being built yet, the city has to get the revenue from somewhere, right? And so that's why the TSA is in place on the stadium, because that's all we have. What this amendment does is it allows for, once that state of affairs changes and the multifamily development is completed, it allows that tax burden to shift to the multifamily development, come off of the stadium. But to be clear, that only happens once they have substantially completed and are receiving the tax revenue from this end of hearing.
But that also incentivizes them to turn around and complete it a lot faster, well, than what the normal process that we've seen, again,
It's a great point.
sometimes we get to the point where we're having discussions, and again, I stated it earlier, back in 2020, we started this 6 years later, we're still talking about it, and we're up for a third time discussing a TSA and an amendment to it. And I had discussions with Director Burns that once we hit that, and one other point that I really want to make, until we hit that, we are still going to get what we're owed at this point from when we started a few years back. We're going to get that payment. And then once they reach their completion date, it'll be rolled into the TSA, correct? Okay. Anyone else have any other questions?
Tangible.
Councilor Rubio is asking about the,
Is part of this one?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So I see for 10 years,
Yeah.
I see 0 collected on the tangible taxes.
Yes.
On Exhibit A, tax civilization plan. Can you just speak to that a little bit for me and just
You want to
better
pass that down?
understanding?
Pass that down to the. Bob, I'll give you my copy. Believe me, I read it enough.
Doesn't
So-
go up until year 11.
Yeah, so this was really, at the time, no real science to how this was developed. The goal was to solve for that $10 million number in the lower. So the split between the tangible and the tangible and the red. I recall, and it's been several years now since we developed this schedule, as I recall. We worked these numbers to try to give as much flexibility in the early years as possible, while still maintaining a certain sort of minimum, just the 400,000, a certain minimum payment. But by moving the tangible taxes to later in the schedule, still able to solve for the 10 million, but provide some additional flexibility for the operation of the stadium in the first 10 years of the TSA.
So just to be clear, so on the right column, it's saying that city tax is real estate plus tangible tax. We're starting to collect 400,000
Correct.
this year. Okay.
That's the stadium project being done, which it says it is complete.
Mhm. But we're currently not collecting tangible taxes.
Correct.
So where does the tangible tax on the other column come from?
So there's tangible property in the stadium.
Okay,
This could have been done a lot of different ways. If you look at
mhm,
you could have said, well, we'll zero out tangible taxes in year 11, but the real estate taxes are going to be 536,000 instead of 436,000. I don't believe, unless, opinion, I don't believe that there's any magic to that allocation between those two categories. It was more about moving that $1.1 million in tangible taxes under this schedule, second 10-year period of the TSA.
Got
And just to be clear, because I think it's a question on the next, is the number that's included in the market rate TSA is the 10 million number. It's not just one of the other types.
okay. Thank you.
President Mercer.
You said no real science other than that, right, backing into the 10.
Correct. Yeah.
10 million is essentially what the city had to, lack of a better term, pony up to salvage the deal.
The state.
With Commissar.
Correct.
And it was city was going to be made whole on that 10 million. That's the way to back into it, whether it's tangible property, anything else. That's how you got to the floor.
And
Answer the question.
I'm gonna find out a little more. Yeah.
yeah, and the only other point that I think I'd like to make with that, when I asked for the last one and then compared it to this one, numbers are exact. Everything stays the same. The only thing that changes in this is when the market rate project is done, but then this essentially will change. At that point, well, it'll go away. It'll go away
And
and
rolled into.
rolled into the market rate project. So that we'll have further discussions about that stuff later on at a different date. But that, again, when I compared apples to apples, that's what I got out of it. So I don't see us doing anything different here other than wanting to move a project along and making sure that happens. And we thought we were good partners with Fortuitous. We still believe we are. And we also know the give and take that happens in a negotiation. So we're appreciative of it. But we're still mindful of, and as you can see, as my colleagues point out, where numbers and cents come from. That's what we deal with, and especially probably next week when we start the budget. So, I'm not looking forward to that aspect of our, thank you very much. So with that, any other questions about the stadium project, TSA? I don't have any. None, having heard none, Council Rubio, could you take number 6B, please?
Item number 6B, a resolution authorizing a second amendment to the 20-year tax stabilization agreement for Tidewater Stadium LLC for the property at 11 Tidewater Street, AP 65, lot 723, Stadium, and call to approve and refer to full council.
Second.
There's been made by, motion's been made by Council Rubio, seconded by Council Moran, that a resolution authorizing the second amendment to the 20-year tax stabilization agreement for Tidewater Stadium LLC for the property at 11 Tidewater Street, AP 65, lot 723, the stadium, be approved and referred to the council for full approval. Take it on a roll call vote.
Chairman Wilden.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council Rubio.
Yes.
With that being said, we are done with the finance committee, so someone else wants to stand up and take the limelight. Go ahead, I'm out. Have a nice night. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
What's that?
Oh, one other thing, before we
Back in again?
adjourn, I should have done this before I started. I really do want to thank, Jeremy Sarich, Bob Burns, Savage, John Simmons, for all the work that they've done on behalf of the city. It's extremely appreciated, especially when, you have to turn around and bring all that stuff back to us and explain it to us. It's not the easiest task in the world, but we want you to know, as a council, we really do appreciate your efforts and appreciate all the work that the mayor's staff has put into it, you guys have put into it, and hopefully we can turn around and be at, Tidewater at some point with shovels, getting the thing done. So, thank you very much.
You guys.
Thank you all very much. Just so everybody knows, the next step is next Wednesday, May 6th. That's when you'll have the public hearing on the 3 PSAs and a vote on all 6 of those resolutions we took up today. That's scheduled to start at 7 o'clock. It won't start at 7 o'clock, but hopefully it'll start as close to 7 o'clock as we can possibly make it.
I'll be anywhere but there.